initiated a year ago in Koforidua. This evening, it has become imperative that I have to heartily and frankly engage you on this virtual conversation about the Electoral Commission's mass registration exercise that started today, this morning. And let me confess that I was happy, and it's refreshing to note that a lot of the places that I visited today, a huge number of young people visited the registration centers to have their names on the register. And this engagement is going to be very interactive. I will first of all give brief highlights on the mass registration, what to expect, and then later on address some queries, concerns from you. You recall that last Thursday, the Supreme Court ruled, that is in the case of the NDC versus the Electoral Commission and Attorney General, that the EC must put in place all practical measures to make sure that every single person is registered. And that gave a leeway for the Electoral Commission to begin its intended mass registration that started today. Fellow youth, as you are aware, the registration is going to run for 38 days. It is starting this Tuesday, that is today, 30th June, and then it's going to run till 6th August 2020. Please be informed that your participation in the registration exercise is what is going to enable you to vote, to cast your vote in December 2020, December 7, 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. It's very key. And these are some of the few things that you need to do. In order for you to successfully participate in the registration exercise, it is important for you to take note of the following. And this is what we're going to go through: the nature, the schedule of the registration exercise, the proof of identity, and then know that this is the controversial CI 126 that was passed recently, about 3 weeks ago in Parliament, and then this is also the CI 91. And I'm going to explain the two and what the CI 126, it only amended certain portions, just about a portion in the CI 91. And then also some relevant details that you need to be aware of. And then most importantly, we know the times we find ourselves. COVID-19 is here with us. So the COVID-19 safety protocols are very key. We're also going to touch on that. What I've seen today is very refreshing. And then students' registration. You are aware that His Excellency the President, by an executive instrument, opening the doors, opening ways for the final year students, and then also double track who have not finished portions of their syllabus to go back to school so that they can complete their course, and then also exit examinations for the final year students in the tertiary institutions as well. We are also going to discuss some of these things. Now, the exercise, as I stated earlier, the mass registration exercise, but it's important to note this, please, very important. We have had some limited registration in the past, and I know you also have your old voters ID card with you. All these ID cards, the old ones, they cannot be used. They cannot be used. In fact, because of the CI 126 has outlawed all these cards. So, for instance, in the CI 126, it has removed as forms of identification the usage of the old or the voter's ID card. You can't use it. And we are going to get to that as well. Now, the Electoral Commission, the exercise, as I said, it started today, is going to end Thursday, 6 July. But the registration centers, it is going to be done in cluster basis. That is the formula now. The cluster is going to be 5 polling stations per cluster. 5 polling stations per cluster. So that if you have, let's say, a polling station in one area, and then 4 other polling stations in different areas, they will come together and then form a cluster of a registration center. So that will constitute a registration center. And we must be aware. And there are going to be movement as well. And the Electoral Commission will be announcing when it will be your turn for you to also go and register. Again, one key thing that became very controversial is the voter's ID card, the old one, as a source breeder document for the registration, for the mass registration process. Now, if you go into the CI 126, it's a very small booklet. Now, there was this erroneous impression that the CI 126 is replacing the CI 91. No, that is not the case. Rather, the CI 126 is only amending certain portions, just a little portion. And the portion it amends, it's the Regulation 1, Sub-Regulation 3 of the CI 91. So now, Regulation 1, Sub-Regulation 3 is amended by CI 126. And it's a very simple thing now. All that it says is that now the forms of identification are 3. Valid passport, then Ghana card. That is the National Identification Authority card. That is the Ghana card. And then also 2 people guaranteeing for you. But again, one person who is a registered voter, who has already obtained his voter's ID card, can't guarantee for you. That is if you don't have a valid passport and if you don't have a Ghana card. Then 2 people can guarantee for you, but then those 2 people, they cannot guarantee for more than 10 people. That is very important. Immediately they move about 10 people guaranteeing for more than 10 people. It is illegal. So please, if you obtain your ID card, it is an important document or for you to also guarantee for somebody. And you can do it for the person any part, any polling station in Ghana. So for instance, if you registered here in Accra, you can also guarantee for somebody in Tumu. You can guarantee for somebody in Navrongo. You can guarantee for somebody in Zazulu. You can guarantee for somebody in Domongo. You can guarantee for somebody in my hometown, Setse. Right? So that is how it is, but it should not be more than 10 people. So that if you have 2 people guarantee for you, then that is also another source of identification for you. So that is very important, and we should know this as well. And then immediately you approach any registration center. What is going to happen is that you're going to see 3 tables. 3 tables, all of them in every registration center. Too, you have the registration officer, you have the registration assistant, and then you have the registration supervisor. So you have the registration assistant seated before these tables. Now, the first table you approach, they will ask for these relevant details. I mean, they will ask for the right spelling of your name, they will ask for the date of birth, they will ask for your current residential address, they are going to ask for your parents' name, that is your mother, your father. They are also going to ask for your hometown, and they are also going to ask for your residential address, where you live, right? And then the district of your hometown, also very key. But the COVID-19 also, raised a lot of alarm. Obviously, people were afraid, and these were legitimate concerns being expressed. That how are we going to congregate at one point when we have COVID-19 hanging around our neck? And indeed, it was a genuine concern. But then, this is what the Electoral Commission is doing. Now, the Electoral Commission is strictly adhering to the protocols. Strictly. Immediately you get to the registration center, it is a must for you. You cannot approach any registration center without a mask. Fellow youth, note this. You cannot approach any registration center without wearing a mask. And indeed, don't forget, it is already a law by an executive instrument by His Excellency the President that immediately you step out of your house, it is expected that you are in a mask. So that is already backed by an executive instrument. And the Electoral Commission at any registration center, if you don't have a mask, you will not be allowed to continue with the process. The next thing you do is that you see officials from the Ghana Health Service. They are going to check your temperature with the temperature gun, and then depending on the figures you have, they are going to advise accordingly. But that is not anything for you to be afraid of. It is normal, it is part of the process. Then you have this Veronica buckets where you will have to wash your hands, and then, thoroughly for 20 seconds, as we all know, and then you clean, you have tissues there, you clean your hands. And interestingly, the Electoral Commission has also demarcated. They have some demarcations there, and these demarcations are in place to observe the social distancing protocols. These demarcations are there to observe the social distancing protocols. And then we have sanitizing equipment that will also be touched by the registrant and the EC officials as well. Okay, as I mentioned, there are 3 tables you see. The first table, that is where the registration officer will ask you the form of identification you are producing or you have. So as I mentioned earlier on, if you have a valid passport, if you have a valid NIA card, or if somebody is guaranteeing for you, that is where all of these engagements will go on. So that if you have a valid passport or NIA card, some of these questions are asked, as I earlier on stated, the correct spelling of your name, your mother's name, your father's name, where you live, the address, your hometown, and all of that, right? So that is the first table. Now, if somebody is guaranteed for you, there's a guarantee form. Already, you don't have to fill the guarantee form if you have the passport and the NIA card. In that case, you are given a Form 1A. Form 1A. That Form 1A will capture all your details. So afterwards, you move to the next table. The next table is where they will key in all of these details onto the computer. And then on that same table, there's a camera. That camera is supposed to capture your face. Don't forget, the Electoral Commission has added a particular feature, and that feature is the facial recognition feature. So that during the time of voting, you will also be recognized facially. Apart from your biodata that is going to be taken, you will also be recognized facially by these cameras. So that's the second table. They will take all your details, everything, they will key it into the laptop, and then your picture is also taken. Then it will generate another form for you, where a portion of that form would be your voter's ID card. And then the next table will well laminate your card for you. Instantly, you have your card, and then you move. If by any case you have some objections against, especially by the agent, against the fact that maybe you are not a Ghanaian, you are not 18 years and above, and all of that, you go through the process all right, but then your card will not be given to you. They will hold on to your card, and then there's a committee by which the CI 91 refers to as the review committee. This review committee will sit on your case, and if indeed evidence is adduced to the effect that you are not an eligible registrant, then your name is expunged from the register. And then the final table, if your card is given to you, and then you use a sanitizer, and then off you go. I've been part of this process when we were doing the pilot program, and it was amazing. Very simple. Please do not cause any commotion at the registration center. It is an offense. In the CI 91, it is an offense to distract, to cause any commotion whatsoever, to disturb prospective registrants, also to cause any impedance for the registration officers, the registration supervisors, and the registration attendants. So please, security personnel will be there, and every registration center is well guarded by our security officials. So please, the moment you are found to engage in any of these registration offenses, please, the laws will deal with you. So fellow youths, go to the registration center, comport yourself, go through all the COVID-19 protocols so that you can be registered. Another important thing that we need to note, you recall that over the past 2 weeks, the President gave some roadmap as to how our schools were going to reopen, not to all students, but to final years. First of all, the tertiary students who were exiting to go and take their exit exams, their exit practicals, to submit their theses, and then all of that. But there were some final year students who also took their exams online. They were also part, they are exempted from it. If they finish with it, they are not part. But over the years, you will notice that any time you have, and I'm starting from the tertiary institutions, the public universities, training colleges, nursing training colleges, technical universities, and the private universities as well. You will notice that any time, but for COVID-19, any time you have had to go through any mass registration or limited registration process, school will be in session. That has always been the calendar. So that, but for COVID-19, today, first years or level 100 students are not on campus, second year or level 200 students are not on campus, third years or level 300 students are also not on campus, only final years. But please, wherever you find yourself in the over 6,000 registration centers, over 6,000, I think it's 6,558 or so registration centers, please register. You don't have to travel to campus, you don't have to travel far, wherever you find yourself, meaning first years or second years, third years, level 100, level 200, level 300, as you probably want to call it. Register wherever you find yourself. Register wherever you find yourself. And then, our brothers and sisters who are also on campus, please register on campus. And I'll tell you why. Now, the Electoral Commission, because the Supreme Court ruled that the Electoral Commission should put in place all practical means so that every single prospective registrant will not be disenfranchised. The Electoral Commission is putting in place adequately so that there will be a window of transfer, opportunity for transfer, so that when you register wherever you are, if you are in, let's say, Sola, and then you are on University of Ghana campus, if you register in Sola, and by the time we are voting, school is in session, so you are on University of Ghana or Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology campus, you don't have to travel back to Sola. No. So you only have to transfer your vote to KNUST and then cast your ballot there. And then also, when you consider our brothers, our sisters, our young brothers and sisters in the SHS, you also have final years, and then some go track, those who are able to complete their syllabus. They are actually on campus. And a large number of them are also prospective registrants who are eligible to vote in December 7th. So now by the executive instrument, even parents are not allowed to visit their ward. So then the Electoral Commission, in the spirit of the Supreme Court ruling last Thursday, would be making arrangements for students on our various campuses to also register. Because it will be against the protocols of COVID and against the executive instrument for students to be moving to and fro. It is even dangerous. It will be putting our young brothers and sisters, it will be putting them in greater danger. So the Electoral Commission will be putting plans in place, arrangements in place, so that they can have these students registered on campus. So please, you should not be worried. Our dear parents, you should not be worried. You should, and then if you are a big sister or a big brother, you are worried about your younger sister or brother on the various SHS campuses. We have more than 700 public SHS. So don't be worried. We are going to get them registered so that the same principle applies. When the opportunity for transfer is opened by the Electoral Commission, then they can transfer. That is it. So please do not be worried about these things. Everybody will be captured. Every single person who is eligible to register, And as the electoral commissioner, that is Madame Jane Mensah also mentioned yesterday, that they have plans, arrangement in place to make sure that they will register every single person who is a prospective registrant and also an eligible person to cast a ballot in elections 2020. Now, fellow youth, let me turn your attention to something very important. Right from last week, I mean, we had some sentiments being raised. I mean, tribal sentiments. It is very, very dangerous. Fellow youth, you may be aware of the tribal bigotry disposition of our brothers NDC for some days now. The attempt to incite our Ewe brothers, our brothers and sisters in the Volta region, against each other and against the government is very shameful and irresponsible. You will recall that President Akufo-Addo, in the wake of this COVID-19, closed all borders. And indeed, even the first cases we even recorded in the northern region were imported cases from Burkina. The first two cases we also recorded in the Volta region were also imported cases from Togo. So His Excellency the President, by an executive instrument, closed all borders. Closed all borders. And when we go to Upper East, we have over 200 soldiers there. We go to Upper East, we have over 100 soldiers there. Northern region, 110 soldiers. Northeast, 109 soldiers. We have military personnel deployed to 9 regions. But the NDC, led by the former president, and as a young person, I'm deeply surprised and I'm very, very, very disappointed because he has been in the same position before. He has been the commander-in-chief of Ghana Armed Forces before. Where you remember those days when we were attacked, when we had intelligence that some terrorism activities were being carried out, it was just under tone. He had to act, and in the same way, that is what is happening. So I'm surprised why the NDC would want to say that because there are military personnel, military men, because there are soldiers who are making sure that our borders are not porous, because of this, they are saying that we are doing this to discourage people from registering. This is very, very, very unfortunate. And as I said, it's very shameful and irresponsible. President Akufo-Addo and the NPP will never do anything to disenfranchise any Ghanaian. Fellow youth, it is important for us to know this, including our beloved brothers and sisters in the Volta region. The youth wing of the NPP condemns this unpatriotic behavior of the NDC and call on all residents in the Volta region to disregard these ethno-tribal bigots. Please, we need to discourage that. We are all living in harmony and we are going to cast our ballot in December peacefully and nothing is going to happen. Now, let me turn our attention to the reason why it is important as a young person to register. First of all, it is your civic responsibility to register and to vote during public elections and referenda. Your vote is the most valuable tool you have. And it is more than expression of how you feel about a particular candidate. Your vote has significant consequences on the fortunes of the state. In 2016, you recall, fellow youth, that the youth of Ghana campaigned and voted massively for President Akufo-Addo. Now, President Akufo-Addo, in turn, has kept faith with the youth of Ghana. And this is the more reason why it is important for me to tell you, to admonish, that please register so that you can give Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, 4 more years to do more for you and me and all of us. And in the area of job creation, and these are facts, we promised one district, one factory. Now, let me inform you that over 58 factories out of the 181 we promised have been completed and operationalized. This has created more than 10,900 direct jobs. And for indirect jobs, we are talking about 43,900 indirect jobs. That is one district, one factory. Then came the life transforming policy for the young people. That is NAPCO, Nation Builders Corps. NAPCO has also created livelihood for a whopping 100,000 persons who have been employed in various modules under NAPCO. And this is unprecedented, fellow youth, unprecedented. That for a government to think outside the box, and interestingly, I was there when we were launching NAPCO. I interviewed some few young persons, and the kind of testimonies I heard, some were even weeping. There was this young lady who said he's got a baby, but for 3 years, she cannot even boast for 100 Ghana cedis a month. For 3 years. And this young person today is earning 700 Ghana cedis. That is what NAPCO is doing. When you get to the Youth Employment Agency, I mean, under the previous regime, anytime you heard JIDA, then it means wanton dissipation of our resources, the youth future being gloomy, because you hear all manner of scandals, all dirty scandals under JIDA. But today, the Youth Employment Agency, the image under Royal Justin Kodia, my own brother, and then also my own brother Samuel Uku, the image of YEA is at all-time high. YEA has employed over 70,000 young people under the community protection personnel, Arabic instructors, sanitation, and then youth in sports model in all districts across the country. Additionally, recently, you noticed that the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, also partnered the YEA, and they have recruited 7,730 young persons under the school support system. You recall that recently on the campuses of University of Ghana, YEA also launched the Job Center platform. And this is a flagship program. And then also it has the artisan directory as well. And per my checks and per the record, it is there for everybody to see. Tens of thousands of young people across the country, as at the time I checked, have gained sustainable jobs in the short to medium term. Then recruitment of teachers, unprecedented, because we recall that under the NDC, we had some austere measures. We had gone to the IMF, and IMF had put a stop to public recruitment. We could not recruit. So we had a huge backlog of teachers. From 2017 to date, the government has recruited over 70,000 newly trained teachers. And the special recruitment of 8,000 persons on the rules of the free SHS policy is also worth mentioning. And again, when we also introduced the double track system, an additional 7,000 young persons were also engaged for the double track system. And then let's go to the health workers as well. The government in 2017, and recently, you also heard that the government, the Ministry of Health, has also secured some financial clearance to recruit more people. But between 2017, as I speak, we have recruited more than 60,000 young persons. More than 60,000 young persons. And there's also the processes of trained nurses and midwifery who also completed 2017 to also get them recruited are also far advanced. We are talking about jobs. We are talking about Nana Abidan Kwekufa and what he has done for them. And these are only youth-related achievement. Youth-related achievement. Recruitment of security personnel. Upon the assumption of the NPP office, we have recruited close to 10,000 young persons, be it police, prisons, immigration services, and what have you. More than 10,000. And forestry commission Commission, I never knew that under Forestry Commission, young people will also have livelihood. I didn't know that under Sir John, my own uncle, lawyer Bodo Uzofriye, he has created 83,000 jobs for young persons in the forest plantation program. And it has given livelihood to people. As you travel nationwide, you hear people giving personal testament. And this is key. Now, Ministry of Business Development. Again, under NDC, you recall that they had something they call the Youth Enterprise Support. The youth, I mean, basically it was to support young people who are innovative, who have some business mind, who have business proposals, and they needed support. In 8 years, fellow youth, the NDC could only support 68 young people. 68. We came in, and then we revamped, renamed, and then we redirected the focus of Youth Enterprise Support. Now, we have named it the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Plan. And just under 3 years, they have performed miracles. They have trained 7,000 youth in agribusiness, ICT, trade and commerce, out of which 1,003 youth were given financial support ranging between 10,000 Ghana cedis and 100,000 Ghana cedis. And then this is even the interesting bit. Every single proposal had job creation component attached to the proposal. So that if you needed 10,000, if you were given 10,000, meaning you also intend to recruit 4 or 5 additional young persons. If you were given 100,000, it means you have a job creation component of about 30, meaning you also intend to give livelihood and jobs to about 20 young persons. This is a government that is working for the youth. In 2009, an additional 12,000 youth were trained, and over 3,000 again were given financial support. This is interesting. And everywhere, nationwide, people can attest to that. And I have traveled, I have touched base in all the 16 regions. And we have beneficiaries in all the 16 regions giving their own testimonies about what this government has done. Again, in the 2020 budget, 15,000 young people will be trained and 4,000 given financial support. Interesting. And National Board for Small Scale Industry. The young lady there, Kosiyanki, is doing something fantastic. Now, you note that COVID has really, given us a headache in terms of the dire consequences on jobs. So, National Board for Small Scale Industry is giving out 600 million to support businesses. This is very important. 600 million, because they are young people. When you look at the research, young persons who have been affected by this COVID-19, when you look at the figures, it's overwhelming. And even when you speak to officials from the National Board for Small Scale Industry, they will tell you that over 70% of the people who have applied are young people. And we are giving out 600 million business support. Phenomenal. You talk of public sector, that is, you talk of the local government services, you talk of civil services, you talk of the Controller and Accountant General, and all the public sector. Between 2017 and 2019, we have recruited 138,026 Ghanaians. 100. And you see, we are talking about the NDC. During the NDC era, anytime we spoke of employment, they were saying, oh, we have IMF conditionalities and we are unable to recruit. This is a government that is working for the youth. Planting for food and jobs. A whopping 1.9 million people, including Ghanaian youth, have benefited from this program. 1.9 million. And not only that, we have the rearing for export. We also have the planting for export. And then we also have a module called the Youth in Agric. And a lot of young persons have benefited from the planting of food and jobs. This is a government working for the youth. Now, let's turn our attention to almighty free SHS. This year, 1.6 million young people would have benefited from free SHS. As we speak, 1.2 million are already benefiting. Our young brothers and sisters are about to write the BC. So by November or so, we would have about 1.6 million benefiting. This year alone, government is spending 2.2 billion on these young people. This implies that government has put back in our pockets 2.2 billion cedis. 2.2 billion cedis. Any other government like the NDC would have dissipated this money. But His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is working for the youth. So the government has put back 2.2 billion back into our pockets. Very impressive. Since 2007 to date, people who sat for BC never paid a peso for their registration fee. A peso. And I recall that when we were campaigning in 2016, there were times where you get to places, you ask these young chaps, why are they not in school? And somebody would lament over just 70 Ghana cedis. Back then, it was about 50 or 55 Ghana cedis. So because of 55 Ghana cedis, that young person, through no fault of his, was unable to write the easy exam. Now, from 2007, every year on the average, President Akufo-Addo releases 50 million Ghana cedis. 50 million Ghana cedis to cater for the BC registration. Again, another refreshing news. The first batch of the free SHS cohort, that is the soon-to-be Akufo-Addo's graduate, will sit for the 2020 WASI, and they are in school now as we speak, and I earlier on mentioned it, and they are preparing for their WASI. Will equally not pay registration fee. Government has made available 75 million to pay for the WASI examination, unprecedented WASI examination fee absorbed by this government. So we are talking about 313,838 students who will sit for the exams. Their examination fees completely absorbed. That is a government working for the youth. Again, by virtue of free SHS, this is an unprecedented achievement as well. We have learning materials like core textbooks, supplementary readers, uniforms, house clothes, house dresses, technical drawing equipment, PE kits, notebooks, exercise books were all supplied for free. Yes, you heard me, fellow youth. Were supplied for free, and the records are there. And then, one thing that we need to take note of, I mean, double track has really gained a lot of popularity. Double track, the double track system. This is a thinking outside the box intervention. No two ways about that. And now I'll explain. Statistics from the Ministry of Education, the last time I checked, indicated that between 2017 and then 2019 alone, about 520,000 Ghanaian children who, but for the timely intervention of free SHS, would have been thrown out onto the streets, have been enrolled into the various senior high schools across the country due to free SHS. Now we are talking about 40% increment in enrollment. 40%. So let me give this example. I mean, this is how I'm going to explain. Very simple. Now, I went to Prempeh College. Let's say the capacity of Prempeh College is 1,000. Because of free SHS, the intervention of free SHS, now you have more people who qualifies to be enrolled in Prempeh College, but they are close to about 3,000. But here is the case, the capacity for private college is just 1,000. So are we saying that because the numbers are huge for private college, all these children cannot be admitted there? No. His Excellency the President says that he doesn't want any child to be left behind. So this is the intervention from this government. That is thinking outside the box intervention for the youth. So now what we are saying is that we have these huge facilities there, private college. We have so many dormitories and all of that. When the students are on vacation, the place is free. It is vacant. Nobody is using it. So why can't we think outside the box and use? We can have a dual usage for these facilities. And that is how come the government brought or implemented the double track. But it is important to note that the double track was only an intervention. It was never going to be there forever. Because we have also enrolled massive infrastructure projects in all the SHS campuses. And as I speak, in less than 4 years, the government of Ghana has initiated, and a lot of them completed, over 1,002 infrastructure projects. New classroom blocks, administrative blocks, dormitories, assembly halls, laboratories, toilet facilities in senior high schools across the country. And this was ostensibly to create more space to educate the Ghanaian child and also to abolish double track. That is how come, if you notice, recently a lot of senior high schools are even announcing they are off double track. I mean, for instance, Laura SHS, and then you go to Gambaga Girls, they are off double track because of the massive infrastructure development in our various schools. This is a government. This is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo working for the youth. Again, another controversial area. You remember the teacher training allowance and what the former president said. The former president said that to hell with those who are crying out loud, that he should not cancel the allowances. And even if he will lose, he doesn't care. That is what he told us. Today, as I speak, His Excellency the President has lived us up to his words. Remember what he said. He said he was going to restore the teacher training allowance and the nursing training allowance. Since the restoration of the training allowance in 2017, fellow youth, about 200,000 trainees have benefited from the life-saving monthly stipends. 200,000 since 2017. And in 2020 fiscal year alone, 357 million were given out to pay 48,000 teacher trainees. 357 million to pay 48,000 teacher trainees. Whereas you have 336 million being used to settle 49,000 trainee nurses in allowances. Mind-boggling. So you notice that from the budget, between September 2017 and January 2020, at least a whopping 1 billion Ghana cedis have been released to pay trainee nurses and teachers in the form of allowances. And this is what the former president could not do. And recently I heard him say that when he is given the opportunity again, he is going to continue with the payment of the allowances. How absurd can any person be? How? That given the opportunity, you were given the opportunity by Ghanaians, you cancelled it. In fact, Ghanaians cried out loud to you. You said you're not going to listen to them. And then you had a different thing. You cannot pay, so you cancel it. And now, another president comes, God-given president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo comes. He has restored happiness to these young people. And we are saying that the person who has restored it, we should push him aside so that you will come. And what you cancel, you should continue with it. I mean, how? This is so much of an absurdity. But the young people are not, they're not going to do that. Again, this is His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, working for you. Scholarship. For me, under the NDC, I never thought that scholarship secretariat existed. Yes. Because almost every other time you hear that feeding grants in the northern part of Ghana were not being paid, and then schools were closed, heads of schools were crying, they were lamenting. Ever since we came from 2017, we have not had any issue of arrears in terms of feeding grants being paid to schools in the northern part of Ghana. Now, let me also say this. A new line of scholarship was introduced, and let me mention that Kingsley Ajima, the head of scholarship, is doing a brilliant work, fantastic work. Last year, you recall that he implemented the district-based scholarship scheme, and this scheme last year supported 30,000 brilliant but needy students. 30,000. This is unprecedented. It has never happened before. This is a precedent. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, working for you. And this year it is even going to be amazing. He is even doubling the figures. This year, it is projected that 60,000 students will be given scholarships in 2020. 60,000. And let me tell you that recently they had a portal, a lot of people applied, and they have started the interviews already. So in the next month or two, 60,000 students will benefit from this scholarships. Again, the entire scholarship program, under Mahama was poorly implemented. I mean, that is what I just told you. It was poorly implemented. Let's also move to this. Again, another pointer to show that His Excellency the President is working for the youth. Over 20,000 students in the senior high schools and in the tertiary institutions were trained under the Student Entrepreneurial Initiative enrolled by the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan. 20,000 students. And they are also there. Again, we cannot talk about education without talking about teachers, another important component. Today, teaching jobs has become one of the most respected jobs in Ghana, partly because of the Lancashire exams. And this is what President Mahama said that he's going to cancel. Meanwhile, the very thing that you are saying that you're going to cancel, in the words of the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, this is what he said. As lawyers and nurses, midwives and doctors are able to protect their profession by identifying fake practitioners, teachers can equally do so owing to the introduction of the Lancashire exams. Right? So that is what we are talking about here. Again, by virtue of the enhanced teaching professional requirement, the financial status of teachers have improved appreciably. From this year, every teacher will be paid 1,002 annually as professional awards. Every teacher. Again, it's unprecedented annually. The system whereby newly recruited teachers had to work over 3 years before receiving their first salary, thing of the past, has been abolished. Now, within 6 months after you have been recruited, teachers are paid their salaries and all arrears paid if they are any. The 3-month salary pay policy, whereby President Mahama government will pay 3 months over 3 years, and then arrears will never be paid. That is unconscionable. Right? So the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2009 disbursed again 52.6 million Ghana cedis to SHS and Technical Institute for academic intervention in teachers. Again, let me mention this about TVET. Now, former President Mahama says that he is going to make TVET free. It is already free. It is already free because TVET is a component under the free SHS model. It is already free. So it appears the former president does not even know what he's talking about. I remember the last time we went to Kumasi Technical Institute and said free SHS is here to stay. Meanwhile, you have lambasted free SHS. You bastardized it. They made fun of His Excellency the President. They said Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency could not and cannot implement the free SHS. But in 2017, immediately he was sworn in. The first 3 months he declared. I remember it was in Okapiman Secondary School. Then he said that same year in September, free SHS is coming. And I thank God that I was part of the history. When free SHS was being launched in West Africa Secondary School, I was happy I was part of the occasion. And let me take this opportunity to also congratulate Honorable Matthew Poku Pempenapo. He's done a fantastic work, yeoman's work. This was a huge flagship campaign message, and he has executed it perfectly. Honorable Napo and your team, kudos to you. And again, the research allowances of lecturers too has also been restored. I mean, very instrumental about that. Let me also shift your attention to something that is infrastructure for youth development, youth and sports development. Now, the NPP government, headed by the former President J. Akufo, did something unprecedented. I mean, traditionally we knew of only 2 places where we can boast of proper, stadium. That is the we are talking about the Ohinijan Sports Stadium and the Babayara Sports Stadium. And then the former president also constructed fully the Esipon Stadium and then the Aliu Mahama Sports Stadium. Now, in our manifesto, the NPP, we said that we were going to put up 10. Then we had 10 regions. We were going to put up 10 ultra-modern, multi-purpose youth center, mini stadium, ultra-modern, with 5,000 capacity across the country. So today, when you go to Upper East, go to Navungo, you see it. The imposing nature of the ultra-modern and multi-purpose youth center. Go to Wa in the Upper West, you see it for yourself. Go to Northern Region, go to Yendi. It is at Yendi. Fantastic edifice. Come to Bono Region, go to Doma. Ashanti Region, Yinehini. Central Region, go to Dunga Olofin. Then Western Region, go to Azim. Eastern Region, go to Koforidua itself. Volta Region, go to Ho. And then Greater Accra Region. Just Kanishi here, just behind the sports complex. Azuma Delson Sports Complex, where the NYE offices are located. And again, we have the construction of AstroTurf by the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development across the nation. Is another deliberate plan by the government to create an enabling platform for the youth in Ghana to develop and trade their talent. So again, this is His Excellency the President working for you. These facilities with the YEA Youth in Sports Initiative is paving way for big exploration for youth talent to be developed in Ghana. Very important. Again, we have far-reaching positive rippling effects, and it is going to affect a living standard, and then also it will reduce poverty. The National Youth Wing of the NPP is confident that by virtue of this initiative, the next best African legend in sport will certainly come from the northern part of Ghana, will certainly come from the middle belt, will certainly come from the southern belt. Again, this is His Excellency the President working for you. Again, I cannot finish this engagement without touching on another sensitive issue. COVID-19 is hanging around our necks. Very, very unfortunate. And this is an unseen enemy. It's a global pandemic. But fellow youth, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused massive destruction to every economy in the world. It is a global enemy. every economy in the world. And it has left negative impact on the lives of young persons. Negative. Young businesses are dying. The youth who are in small scale businesses, they are doing their own thing. The barbers, the farmers, the bakers, the hairdressers, all of them, the farmers, peasant farmers, they have been affected badly by this COVID-19. But again, this is a president who is working for the youth. Now, this is what President Akufo-Addo did. President Akufo-Addo has phenomenally in protecting and supporting the youth in such unusual times. You will notice that His Excellency the President, for young people who are also frontline workers, tax exemption for 6 months, and then additional allowance of 50% of their basic salaries for another 6 months. Again, we have had free water for all Ghanaians for 3 months, April, May, June. And again, we have free electricity for Lifeline customers and 15% discount for other customers for 3 months, April, May, and June. And again, as I mentioned, over 600 million coronavirus alleviation program business support scheme, and is being managed by the National Board for Small Scale Industry. Again, this is so His Excellency the President, even in the midst of all of these difficulties, which has left a very bad scar, affected, negative impact on the young person, has shown that indeed he's a leader for young people and he's for the youth. Fellow youth, the unprecedented performance of the Nana Bawumia government in less than 4 years is evident for all to see. And these are not artistic impressions or someone's imaginations put in some green book. No. These are tangibles that have far-reaching benefits in the lives of every young person. Please, we have done a lot, but we know that we have not executed everything. We have not satisfied every single young person. We have created a lot of jobs, but we know that there are so many backlogs because under the previous regime, they did nothing to curb unemployment situation we had in this country. So, fellow youth, I will plead with you that what His Excellency the President has started, when he was given one-term mandate, he has performed very well, exceptionally well. So, fellow youth, if you give His Excellency the President another term, he is going to perform wonders for you again. That is the more reason why you need to register. You need to register to show appreciation. You need to give more value to your vote. Vote for the greater good. It is in our broader interest, all of us, myself, you, our brothers, our sisters, to have Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo complete 8-year tenure so that Ghana will be more prosperous. Under NDC, our future saw a gloomy one. Under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we need to guard this. We have no other choice than to jealously protect these youth-focused policies and open ourselves to the lies. We should not open ourselves at all to these lies and propaganda from our opponents. The former president has been given opportunity before, and he messed us up. He messed us up. So we cannot continue to give me one more chance. I want to correct my mistakes. The presidency is not a platform for correcting mistakes. No. You cannot say that we're giving you opportunity. You made some mistakes in the past, and giving opportunity again, you are not going to commit those mistakes. No, it is even an insult. It's an insult on our intelligence. That we give you our mandate, our sovereign mandate, and then you come and tell us that you made some mistakes. And we should give you another opportunity to come and correct those mistakes. As if the presidency is a platform for correcting mistakes. No, it is not. Fellow youth, please, we have 37 days more to make a difference. The registration process is very important. Get your names onto the register. Get out to vote. And not only you, encourage others. Let's mobilize ourselves. And even once you register, you can also be a guarantor for somebody. Let's encourage ourselves. Let's advise each other to go and register. Thank you very much for your time. And I know I'm going to come back again to you. I know you're going to have this session again. Thank you very much for your time. Good evening.
It's easy to